Hello, everybody. So, as we are going into the holiday season, I wanted to kind of put one of my patron exclusive videos out for everybody to see. So, think of this as sort of a preview of the sorts of things that I do in my behind the scenes tier on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. So, if you like this video and you want to see more of this kind of content in the future, you may want to consider looking into the Patreon or the memberships on YouTube, because this is the type of things that I like to put out. So consider this one your freebie for the holidays, and I hope you enjoy. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Analog Vernacular. This one's going to be a weird one. This one's going to be a really weird one. Okay, so in this month's behind the scenes video, I'm going to be doubling up. I'm going to be doing some work for my Patreons here, giving you a little behind the scenes, while I'm also learning some things for my day job. So, I'm going to move back. This is my office. So, first off, how's that autofocus? All right, so let me just explain what the hell I'm doing, because this is probably very confusing to all of you. My day job. I am a professor at a College of Fine Arts, and one of the things that I teach is, well, I work in a theater for one, and I do a lot of like live streams and things like that, but my focus has always been in audio and video. And while I don't work for a film department, I do teach people in a fine arts department how to do things with audio and video. So I do teach film technique, I do teach people how to use cameras, and I got some new cameras for our department to start using in their film projects. And those are the Panasonic GH5 Mark IIs. And I haven't used GH5s. Well, actually, back in the day I've used some GH4s, but I've never actually used GH5s, so I needed to familiarize myself with this camera. So that's kind of what I'm doing today, is I'm showing you a little bit of what I'm working on for the behind the scenes, while I'm also learning how to use this. Now, Panasonic, I'm sorry guys, but you guys have not been known for having the best autofocus, so part of this test of me here, when I'm talking to you all, is to see how well the autofocus works. Now, I am currently using human detect, which means that it should be, on my little screen, it's showing me a little box around my person, so that means that it's at least detecting me, and hopefully getting a sharp focus on me. Panasonic, the GH4, it was always known for being really hard to make sure that you had a really sharp focus in like 4K footage and whatnot. They have small reference screens, and so sometimes it was really hard to make sure that you had good focus, especially when you were doing it manually, and the autofocus was not very good. Also, in film applications, you generally don't want to use auto most of the time anyway. But I do want to see how well it's working here, and see if it's going to follow me up here, and see if it breathes a lot, right? It seems like it's doing okay, so maybe the human detect is going to be actually very, very good, and maybe they've improved some of that stuff, so let's hope so, right? That, so far so good, but when I blow this up on the big screen, maybe I'm going to notice some breathing of the focus, things like that. Obviously, me doing this is going to cause problems, but it looks like it's going pretty quick, so... some other things that I need to test out is, over Thanksgiving break I tested some things. I took it with me to go and visit family and whatnot. I took some slow-mo shots. I did a bunch of things. So you'll get to see little bits of that footage. You'll get to see some slow-mo of my dog Winston licking the air.
So majestic, stunningly beautiful. What a monstrous beauty. God, that dog is amazing. Perfection. Is there a better dog in the whole universe? I say nay. Beauty incarnate.
You'll get to see some slow-mo of some people in my family playing some chess, and I was just going for that cinematic look. some other things that I'm going to have to test are some audio things, but we'll get there. So, you know, for each of my kits, I have these Pelican cases here, and I got a bunch of things in them, in these inserts. But one of the things that I wanted to test out is this right here. It's an audio ballast. So I'm going to show you what this thing is. So these audio ballasts, let's get it in the light a little bit. So on this side you have a bunch of controls and whatnot, and on this side you have some XLR inputs. So this is how you're going to get high quality audio into the camera, because these small Panasonic camera bodies, they only have 1/8 inch jacks, but with this we've got a shoe mount on the bottom that connects to the hot shoe on top of this thing and gives you more high quality options for audio. So I am going to be putting a lavalier microphone on myself, and you're all going to get to hear the difference as well as me. So we're going to do that as well. So I've got this for every single one of our kits. We have 4 kits that we got. We spent like 10 grand on these things. Man, I wish I had that kind of money for my own stuff, but that's okay. Wishful thinking, right? Yeah, you guys are getting a taste of my teaching mode. My teaching mode is very loud and animated, apparently. So, but yeah, and then right here I've got a lavalier kit. This is actually my kit. The department does not own this, but this is my lavalier kit, and this one's wired. We've got a wireless one that my department does own, but I own this wired one, and I love this wired one. It's really high quality. It's an Audio-Technica. The specific model is the AT8537, and this thing is clean. It's clean audio. I actually end up bringing mine in whenever I'm doing interviews because I prefer the high quality sound of the wired connection better than I like the wireless connections. So, you know, we're gonna try this out. I'm gonna actually monitor it a little bit before I go there, but yeah, that's gonna be my next step. So I'm gonna cut the recording here. I'm gonna set this audio ballast up, and the next time you hear me, it's gonna be me with a lavalier microphone on. Also, I love this hoodie. I love it so much. I'm like so happy that I have a hoodie with my own logo on it now. I love wearing this thing. But yeah, you can check that out on my links. Society 6 is where I have my merch store, but I freaking love this thing. Oh, God. All right, I'll be back. Okay, well, I've got it on. Testing 1, 2. It's right here, as you can see. If I were to touch it, you'd hear that, obviously. It will pick up other things as well, but it is pretty isolated to just my voice, and it looks like we're a little bit hot right now. I'm going to roll the volume off just a little bit. Testing 1, 2 with my normal voice at peaks. Looks like we were getting between -6 and 0, okay, and that's at my high peaks, usually my plosives. Puh, 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 puh. That's a plosive, by the way. All right, so mostly I just want to know if this is gonna, sound better. Obviously, I just kind of like put this thing on real quick. Normally, you'd want to be a little bit more careful about where it's placed, make sure that it's not going to brush up against clothes and things like that, because otherwise you're going to get weird sounds like that. But yeah, as I'm talking here, I noticed that right there on my higher points, I was maxing out my volume. So if I'm peaking out, I probably need to roll things off just a little bit. I get a little bit more animated, so yeah, let's just do that. We give ourselves a little bit of headroom, make sure that we're not going to be peaking out with our audio, and we can get a nice, clean sound here. Now, I don't know if I'm going to treat this or not, but usually what you would do with an interview or something is you would treat the audio a little bit. If I'm quiet here, there is room noise, especially in a room with a loud computer. I've got a giant computer over here making a lot of noise, so that thing is generating a lot of room noise. Most rooms have some amount of room noise, and you can remove those with post-processing audio effects. So maybe what I'll do is I'll leave it off for now, and then I'll show you what it sounds like after I've applied it. So at this point, I've applied some post-processing, and it actually helps a lot as I'm talking. I've probably added a noise gate, I've added a compressor, and maybe a little bit of EQing. The noise gate kind of helps keep that noise floor down. Technically, it's still there when I'm speaking,
But because my audio is so loud in comparison to where the noise is, then your signal to noise ratio is very, very wide. Therefore, you don't notice it because my intended audio, which is my voice, is just so much louder in the mix. So you don't notice the noise. And then when I stop talking, that's when the gate comes in and rolls off anything that goes below a certain audio threshold. So there you have that.
All right, so for this next part, I'm going to be trying out something I haven't actually done in a bit, which is working with vlog footage. So just to tell you kind of what I'm doing, I've been shooting in cinematic 4K with color of 422 at 10-bit depth using all iframes. This is the highest quality image you can get at this resolution out of this camera. So, you know, I'm using that right now, and I'm using a color profile that's called Cinelike D. And that's the one that I found that I like the most that comes out just naturally, but there's one other one that we can use that may actually offer us some really, really nice color grading options. And I haven't actually worked with Vlog in a while, so you're all gonna get to see what happens to this image after I've color graded it in this. But everything you've been looking at so far has been in Cinelike D, which is basically just a certain color profile that makes this image look a certain way. And I'm going to be using an option called Vlog. You're going to get to see what it looks like naturally out of the camera, and it's not going to look good naturally out of the camera. And then we're going to get to see what it looks like after I've color graded it. Now, since I haven't done this in a while, I haven't found best practices for filming in Vlog. But hey, that's what this is about. This is me getting more familiar with this so that I can teach other people how to use it effectively. So this is going to be my first step towards that. So you all get to see that behind the scenes. So I'm going to switch this into Vlog, and then we're going to continue. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Vlog, the color profile that is basically designed to give you as much detail as possible out of your shadows and highlights so that you can do more color correcting in post. It just gives you more dynamic range in your bright and darker areas. Think of it this way, like in a shadowy area, if in camera, you film with a color profile that really, really deepens the shadows, right? High contrast. You've lost all of the detail that might be within those shadows. This is going to kind of give you a wider range of detail that you can work with in post-production, and then when you color grade it, you get to choose how much contrast you have. So basically it's a way for you to just have a little bit more dynamic range, and a lot of people really like this because it gives them a lot of choice in color correction and post-production. So it's really cool. But I haven't graded in this in years. In fact, I think I've only graded on Vlog once, but we'll see how this goes. But yeah, this is me in this same space. You can see that we're a lot flatter. There's not as much contrast. It's really, really low contrast. It's really flat in its color, and in its, bright to dark areas are very, very close together. Places that would normally be dark black look a little bit more gray. They're a little bit toward the mid area of the spectrum. This just allows the sensor to take in all that information, and then in post-production we'll be able to color grade it. So boom, there's our color grade. Very, very different, right? So, well, actually, I don't know how different it's going to be. I can maybe try to color grade it to make it look exactly the same as the other ones, or maybe I'll go for something a little bit more cinematic, or maybe I'll try out a couple of different things. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't gotten to the editing part yet. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but it's going to look different. It's going to look different. So, yeah, kind of fun stuff. So, but yeah, color grading can be a lot of fun and can offer you a lot of creative freedom, and that's part of being a filmmaker. So, yeah. All right, I think for my outro, I'm just going to remain in Vlog and choose a color grade to kind of use on this. But yeah, so thank you for being patrons, and thank you for being part of my behind-the-scenes tier. And this was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this camera. Every camera has its pluses and minuses. This one has a ton of options. I definitely think it has some downsides, being a smaller camera body. I definitely like to have big cinema cameras as much as possible. But this is a very, very good camera for what it's capable of doing. And in its price range, the GH5 Mark II really does a lot for the price range that you're getting this camera in. And I've been pretty impressed with it. So I'm excited to teach some of the students how to use this thing. We'll see. We'll see if any good projects come out of it. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. I think that this will step up the quality that we can output in our department. So hopefully we can get some things into some festivals or something. And this camera can help them do that. The camera does not make the project, but having a really nice camera that can do more things is always going to give you more options creatively, which is kind of the key there. So that's the hope. This is a pretty massive upgrade from the cameras that the students are using currently. So this is going to be really, really nice for them to start venturing into some more technical sides of using these high-grade cameras. So hopefully that'll be fun for them. I know it's going to be fun for me because I'm a fucking nerd, but yeah. See you next month. Okay, I'm just going to do some more vlog shots. There's Link. How you doing, buddy? How you doing, buddy? Let's make sure we're nice and sharp. Oh, there comes Winston. What, you feeling left out? I know you're gonna try and sneeze on this lens, so I'm gonna move on. Yeah, see there, he sneezed. You hear that? So right now I'm all manual focus, so I'm having to rack focus here, and this is one of the things that's tough to do with our current lens. It uses a fly-by-wire focus instead of being mechanical, and I prefer mechanical because then the distance to change focus is always exactly the same. But we'll have to invest in more expensive cameras later because right now we can't afford it. So like I said, we already spent 10 grand on these, so that stuff's gonna have to come later. There you go, Winston. All right, did you get it? Did you get it? All right, I really should have my focus peaking on though. I'm gonna turn that on. No, you're supposed to stay, dude. You're making it difficult, bro. Yeah, there's that licking. You weirdo. I'm not even joking. He can do this for like minutes at a time. And lay him back down, like you do. Alright, how's this gonna look on vlog? You're kinda out of your light now, buddy, but that's okay. We'll see how it grades. And then Link on my chair. And to my collection. Legend of Dragoon, Final Fantasy Tactics, you got Metal Gear in the back there. Yeah, I got a little bit of everything over here. This is the stuff on display. This is one of my new ones. Best girl, right here. Oh, missed it. This is why I like mechanical focus. Fly-by-wire is speed-based, and that's not good for cinema. Especially when you gotta rack focus a lot. And on this camera, I feel like the depth of field is always shallower than you expect it to be. I think it's a product of the sensor size of this camera. But it does have nice shallow depth of field. It's just, it makes it really hard to make sure that you're always sharp on focus if you have a moving camera. So